So, Star Wars The Last Jedi. I promised I'd be talking about it with gameplay footage, and I am. Why? Because it just makes more sense. My camera is awful at the moment. Why didn't I just play a game for Justice League? I was too lazy. No, actually, I do have some Justice League games. I just don't really have the consoles set up for recording at the moment. Have limited space, so the consoles are kind of not all connected in one big area. And I didn't really feel like finding the copy of Injustice that I have somewhere. However, here, yeah, I basically had my copy of this ready to go. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, obviously, Star Wars The Last Jedi. If you guys don't like spoilers, leave now. If you haven't seen the movie and don't want anything spoiled, go away. You gone yet? Okay, I'm going to talk about it. As always, I'm going to start with the pros, which the pros are, 1. This is a very story-driven movie. Which is also a con, but I'll get to that in a bit. The story is kind of an emotional ride. It's basically about Rey finding herself in all of the Force, Rebel, Alliance, all of that crap. Luke Skywalker plays a role, Kylo Ren plays a role, Snoke plays kind of a role, and yeah, all of that's there. Number 2 thing that I like is that the action sequences are really, really good. I actually really enjoy them. I thought they were incredibly memorable. Towards the end of the movie, there is a set piece, like they're on a planet, that the set piece is so amazingly awesome looking. Basically, like everything is white sand, but underneath the white sand is red salt. And basically, like everything that they blow up has red dust coming out of it. And after the battle, it just looks like plastered. It almost looks like they're, bleeding everywhere. And then there's even a room with like just a ton of salt crystals that they drive into with a bunch of TIE fighters. Oh my gosh, it was awesome. Number 3 thing that I liked, and I'm probably going to get some hate for this one. I will tell you that right now. But I like the fact that Luke isn't some type of messiah. I like the fact that he made a mistake. In an instant, he screwed up any chance of a relationship that he may have had with his nephew Kylo Ren. I love it. Because let's face facts, Luke Skywalker is not a perfect person. He's impulsive. He's incredibly impulsive. Now, if you guys haven't watched a Star Wars movie yet, Luke Skywalker is one of the most impulsive characters of all time. He gets his hand sliced off, for crap's sake. If you guys have seen Star Wars, why are you surprised by his impulsion to, grab his lightsaber real quick when he senses the evil inside Kylo Ren? It was just a quick reflex. It was a mess up. It was a failure, for sure. But it was a realistic failure. He wasn't going to kill Kylo Ren. He would never have killed Kylo Ren. That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But everyone's petitioning it. Which is sad because it's one of my favorite parts of the movie. I personally think that it's real character growing for Luke Skywalker. And it's funny because everyone's like, well, you need to secure the legend of Skywalker, and you tainted his image and blah 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 blah. And Luke kind of spells it out in the movie that, hey, you know what? Everyone relied on me so much because I was some type of legend. And realistically, I'm not a legend. I'm just some old-ass Jedi. I mean, you couldn't paint a more ironic picture than this stupid protest and the petition where everyone's trying to get it removed from canon. Go away, please. Let people like me enjoy the movie. Thank you. I also like how a lot of people thought that they were going to parallel, Ben Kenobi was going to, Ben Kenobi. Wrong character. Ben Solo, there you go. I couldn't remember Han Solo's last name. Freaking A. Ben Solo, a lot of people just assumed that he was going to turn to the light side, very similar in a move to Darth Vader. Or maybe he was going to turn to the light side in this movie, or even be a gray Jedi in this movie. And, they were going to work together to stop Snoke in the third movie. And this is the fourth point that I really like from this movie is that Snoke dies. This is another pro and con, by the way. So I'm going to bring it up in the con section too. But Snoke dies in this movie. Like, he straight up dies like a dumbass. It's so anticlimactic, it's ridiculous. But in the grander scheme of things, he doesn't really matter too much. I'll get into that a bit more. But yeah, they basically threw out things that you thought you knew. Rey somehow being related to the Skywalkers, or a character that was already in the canon to begin with. Snoke being the main villain in the third movie. All of that is gone. Absolutely dead in the water. And I freaking love it. They're trying their own take on the whole universe. And I think they're setting up to be a good job, because everyone thought that they had the third movie picked out already. They're like, well, what's going to happen in the second movie? We don't know, but we know what's going to happen in the third. Snoke and Kylo Ren are going to have a big epic battle, and they're going to fall out, and blah, blah, blah. And no! Not even close. Oops. And see, that's the fun of it now, is that we don't know crap about what's going to happen in the third movie. Kylo Ren, whether he returns to the light side or stays dark, that's all up in the air. Either way, they need some type of villain, and so far the only villain I'm seeing is Kylo Ren. So much for parallels, huh? They pretty much threw the parallels out the window. Oh, so good. So good. I mentioned the action sequences. The action sequences are really good. Oh, man. Speaking of action sequences, this is another thing I like. What's her name? Captain Phantasm or something like that. A lot of people thought that she was just going to be the Boba Fett, that she wasn't going to do anything, that she was going to have, like, maybe one fight scene and, that was it, or something like that. Like, it was just going to be like a really quick, kind of lame fight scene. Boba Fett, totally cool, but doesn't do a whole lot in the actual movies themselves. Oh, no, the fight between her and Finn was incredible. I loved it. After... I'm spoiling this movie rotten. I apologize, guys. If you thought, well, the spoilers can't be that bad. No, I am breaking it open badly right now. But there's this one scene in the movie where the last rebel ship that they have is basically sent into warp speed into this big, huge battleship that Snoke had, and just destroyed it in, like, I can't remember how many there were. Like, there was at least 3 to 5 Imperial destroyers. Like, I feel, oh man, it just, like, all of a sudden it was like, they were just like, Captain, that ship is going to warp speed, and he's like, oh, there's nobody on it, it's just a distraction, they were just setting it up on autopilot, blah, blah, blah. And then the ship turns around while it charges warp speed, and the captain looks over, he's like, crap, fire on that damn thing. Oops, it wasn't unmanned. Just destroyed it all. Oh man, it didn't take out the main battleship, but it did a number. Like that was a ooh. Oh, awesome. And then Finn and Phantom Girl, I'm just going to call her Phantom Girl, they were fighting after this because that basically saved Finn's life, and it saved a new character, Rose's life. And just barely, mind you, but yeah, they have like this big epic battle. Finn gets out the traitor beating stick, as everyone liked to call it from the last movie, and started wailing on Miss Phantom, who brought out like this cool spear. And there's like a two-legged walker. I can't remember what they're called, but it's in the background being controlled by BB-8, shooting everything while these two have like this epic duel. And it is amazing. Like, I love it. Is so satisfying to see all of these fights, you know. And that one was definitely the highlight of the movie. But going back to what I was talking about, there are definitely some cons to the movie. And one of the cons is that the first half, over the first half actually, there's not much going on. There's a little bit of action here and there, but for the most part, it's Rey and Luke doing their best to train. Yeah, it's very tense because not much is actually learned. Rey kind of learns on her own what she's doing, while Luke kind of just badges her and says the Jedi need to end and blah blah blah, and then it turns around that it's just Luke's personal failure, and that the Jedi mostly all they do is fail anyway, so there you go. It's kind of slow to start up. The final parts of the movie, however, were definitely just non-stop action, fight scenes, awesome lightsaber battles, fight scenes, and it was definitely worth it. While that's a negative, you know, it has kind of like a slow startup speed, it definitely picks up and makes it kind of worthwhile. Unlike other movies where there's only one fight, and yeah, it's a big fight, but that's it. I'm looking at you, Batman v Superman and Pirates of the Caribbean 3. I'm looking at both of you. But, yeah. It kind of made it worthwhile in the end. It's still a shame that it kind of starts up that slow, however. And then, about Snoke. As I've already spoiled, Snoke dies in this movie. He gets cut in half by Kylo Ren betraying him. And then Snoke's personal guards are just like, there's a really cool fight scene where Rey and Kylo are having to work together to kill all these guards and everything like that. But it's kind of weird because there's no real context onto what Snoke is. None of, like, any questions that you had about Snoke, other than the fact that he can use the Force, nothing gets answered. And to me, that's a negative. As a guy who watched the other movie, the other Star Wars movie with Rey in it, and yeah, it didn't really answer a whole lot. Snoke is relatively human size, and he's got Force lightning, and he can read minds. That's it. You wanted to know more? That sucks. But those are really the only two negatives that I have for this movie. I didn't really have a problem with anything else. I mean, it didn't really fit parallel to most of the Star Wars. It didn't really parallel anything. It's a completely new and utterly take. And if you don't watch it with an open mind, yeah, you're going to be upset by some of the crap that happens. What's that? Luke isn't perfect? Oh no. Guess what? He wasn't perfect in the last 3 movies he was in too. Oops. There's also, speaking of the good stuff, since those are my only 2 cons, there's a lot of humor in this movie. that concept, because a lot of people are like, oh man, she's Luke's daughter, Rey is Luke's daughter, oh my gosh, it's got to be, look at that emotional look that he had. Yeah, about that. Oh, what they do with that, they basically take the idea, all the ideas that everyone had, they replay that scene. He grabs the lightsaber and he's looking at it, he's like, and then he looks up at Rey and he's like, huh. And then hucks his lightsaber behind him, just tosses it aside, walks into a hut and says, leave me the hell alone. Luke is not Rey's dad. According to this movie, Rey's parents are literally unimportant. The only person that Rey really, has any semblance of, she asks about it. It's not like they're not important to her, but they're not important to the grand scheme of things. And that's kind of an interesting subject. The one who's important is Rey. It doesn't matter if she's related to anybody else. Rey is the important one. Kylo Ren is the important one. This is their story. And, I thought that was a really cool concept. I thought it was pretty good. But what do I know? Another cool scene is the quote-unquote lightsaber battle between Luke and Kylo Ren. That crap cracked me up. In fact, for such, it was kind of a darker movie. There's definitely a lot of bloodshed, a lot of tears, a lot of death, but there was definitely enough lighthearted moments to kind of give you a little bit of hope that everything is going to be okay. Yeah, Han Solo died. Yeah, Luke Skywalker's now probably a Force ghost. Speaking of which, Yoda shows up in this movie. And if you guys are thinking he's going to be CGI like, the prequel movies, no, they brought out that silly puppet from the original movies. It looks just like that puppet from the original movies that was used for Yoda. And yeah, that was Yoda. He was a Force ghost. That was pretty good too. Like, that was an awesome moment. I lost track of what I was even talking about. Boy, go through my notes here, but all in all, it's a good movie. Could I recommend this movie? Yes. Could I recommend seeing it in theaters? Definitely. Can I recommend this movie without you watching any other Star Wars movie ever? I could. You can watch this movie and feel that the movie is self-contained enough to enjoy it. There'd be questions that you had, sure, and that would lead you to go back to the other movies, but as a whole, you're not going to be so lost that it's just unfun to watch the movie entirely. That's a good feeling. Honestly, the movie's good. At least for a person like myself, the movie is good. I have been watching Star Wars for years now. And one of the worst things that I really dislike is when a hero is too damn perfect. The fact that Luke started out as not being a perfect chosen one hero was cool to me. That's why I liked Luke Skywalker to begin with, because he had humor. He was just a regular guy. I mean, no, he wasn't a regular guy, but, personality-wise, he was a regular guy. And in this movie, he still is. It's good. It's good to have our heroes fall. That brings them back down to our level. That brings them back down to something we can at least attain personality-wise. As Yoda himself said... Sorry, there was a car right behind me that started up. It distracted me. As Yoda himself said, and I'm going to quote this horribly wrong because I can't remember the full quote anyway. Mistakes are the greatest teachers. But that's all the time I have for this one. If you guys want to watch me play video games more, I have a Let's Play channel down below. If you guys want me to do... If you guys want to see me do actual reviews of video games, my main channel is also down below. Keep in mind, this is now officially a side channel that used to have anime music videos on it. Yep, I'm a nerd. But that's all the time I have for tonight. I don't know what I'm going to talk about next week. Well, actually, I do know what I'm going to talk about next week. I'm going to talk about Daredevil and Jessica Jones. Oh yeah, that's right. I'm starting with Marvel a little early this year. Give you guys a little Christmas treat for everyone excited. You know, like the two people who actually follow me. Who are excited for me talking about Marvel movies. Yeah! Until next time, take care, my minions.